Welcome into the CitrusTV studios for a special web edition of Cuse Countdown. I'm Paul Mancano, alongside Nicole Hansen and KJ Vaughn. Syracuse and number 6 Florida State going at it in the Carrier Dome at noon on Saturday. Syracuse coming off a victory over Wake Forest. Meanwhile, Florida State coming off a crushing defeat at the hands of Georgia Tech. Do you guys feel a little bit more optimistic about Syracuse's chances?
You know, Paul, I definitely feel more optimistic. Now, most people are going to say with the loss to Georgia Tech, Florida State's going to be on the lookout coming up to the Carrier Dome. But I still think this shows that Florida State can be beat, and that's what Syracuse needs to see and needs to feel kind of pumped up for heading into the Carrier Dome for the matchup.
There are a lot of big teams that lose to smaller teams like this. There are a lot of upsets happening, especially this season. And I don't think that one loss to a great team like Florida State really gives much optimism, but nice to think that way, maybe. Maybe we'll think about it a little bit, but not better chances, I don't think.
Wishful thinking, I guess.
All right, 12-9 Syracuse and 18-3 Florida State. Let's look at these team comparisons for how Syracuse matches up with FSU. Syracuse not looking too great coming into this one. Trailing Florida State in just about every category except for three-point shooting. Syracuse, of course, turning to the three as one of their top options, but everything else does not look great for SU.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that it doesn't look great. I'm going to point out, though, field goal percentage. I mean, Syracuse shooting almost, 46%, and Florida State shooting 48% from the field. I know that Syracuse isn't leading that statistical category, but that's pretty close. That's about, 3 percentage point different. I don't think that's so vast of a difference. What about you, Nicole?
The three-point percentage as well, I'll kind of focus on that. They might be a little bit higher, but when you look at how many threes that they take and how many that they miss and how crazy they are, it could go well, it could go not. I don't think it's too big of a difference. They're just a better team, FSU overall.
All right, well, let's look at that team. In the starting lineup for the Seminoles, two guys really to focus on. Star young players, Dwayne Bacon at point guard, and another guy, Jonathan Isaac, the freshman, at forward. Two guys who could hear their names called in June.
They could. They're huge leaders on this team, both so young, sophomore and freshman leaders, and you don't see that too often, but they also have the height. You don't see on their heights, but Michael Ojo coming in starting 7'1". That's a big man that Syracuse just does not have to face against.
Yeah, Nicole, it's a tall starting lineup, but also I'm going to focus on how about Xavier Ratton-Mays. You see there, 10 points per game, 4 assists per game, and 3 rebounds per game. Those are his averages. I mean, that's type of all-around production that helps Florida State, along with obviously Dwayne Bacon and then Jonathan Isaac.
So it is going to be a tough matchup for Syracuse, as we just went through. Let's talk about the keys to the game if Syracuse wants to pull off the upset over the 6th-ranked team in the nation. Let's start with you, KJ.
So the key to the game, Syracuse needs one more player to step up. We've seen Andrew White and Leiden. Those are the two scorers, and they lead this Cuse team. But against Wake Forest, you saw Torian Thompson stepped up, and in a lot of the big wins for Syracuse this year, Pitt and BC, it's been a third player or even more that have stepped up. So Syracuse needs another player or maybe 2 more to step up on the offensive end if they want to get the win.
I think we need more focus on the defensive side. They need to contain a star, and by that, they mean to either contain Jonathan Isaac or Bacon on that FSU lineup. Those two, if they're both allowed to go off and if they're both allowed to do the things that they have been capable of doing so far this season, there is no way that Syracuse has even a chance when only Leiden and White are really scoring on this team. If they can shut down one of the two, they have a shot to maybe match one of them. White or Leiden kind of match the other one that is having a better game. But other than that, if they let both go off, there's no shot.
All right, offense and defense, Syracuse could really use work on both ends of the floor. Let's talk about the game Saturday. Who wins? Nicole, let's start with your prediction.
I'd love to say Syracuse is going to win this game. I have FSU winning 87-68. This team is going to just, I think, completely demolish Syracuse. They might say that loss to Georgia Tech maybe will help a little bit, but they have the 13th ranked defense in the country. They're really capable of holding this Syracuse team to a low number, especially when it comes to height and the power from the young underclassmen on that team. Syracuse doesn't have any player that can compare to any of the strong points that Florida State has, and their offense is just too good. It's too good, KJ.
Okay, Nicole, I'm going to go against you. I got Syracuse in this one, 73-72, and it's simple as this. Jim Boeheim, he's too good of a coach, and this is just too much of a talent pool that they're going to figure it out, and they started to figure it out against the second half in the Wake Forest game. It's close, though, because Bacon and Isaac are going to get theirs, and that's what makes this such a close game. But I'm taking SU 73-72, key win in the Dome.
Bold prediction from KJ there.
I like the bold takes.
Syracuse could, of course, be facing a very angry team in Florida State coming out off that blowout against Georgia Tech. Well, that does it for this web edition of Cuse Countdown. For Nicole Hansen and KJ Vaughn, I'm Paul Mancano. Enjoy the game Saturday.